Hey guys, this is Chris. Welcome back to my piece of the reef. For those of you who are looking at this tank, you may see a lot of things look very different, especially the whole centerpiece. It's all good though. I'm really in the mindset now, or I should say, I've gotten the stick addiction. I'm really totally enthralled by SPS now. Propagating them, growing them to different colors, and just morphing them into crazy different things. So I needed to change or swap out my center section there. I also, in preparation for some of the fish I was going to be bringing in, needed more places for fish to hide. And if we kind of get a little bit of a closer look here, I added a bunch of kind of caves and overhangs and different places for fish to hide. And this is a new kind of rock for me. It's Carib Sea Life Shapes. It's 20 pounds of rock in there, and I gotta say, I'm totally amazed by the rock. It looks so good. It's a more beautiful purple compared to my old live rock that's in the tank. But that live rock is, 4 years old at this point in time, so I would never change it all just because of all the good things, the copepods, the bacteria that's living in them. Now, some of you may be looking at the tank going, hey, wait a second. I still see a purple tang and I still see an adult chevron tang. What happened to the Gold Flake Angel, the Bellis Angel, the Powder Blue Tang? Kind of where are those guys? Well, here's the ugly of the past month. When I last put that video up, I kind of gave some people a sneak peek at a Gold Flake, a Bellis, and a Powder Blue that I had purchased. The Powder Blue came from Live Aquaria. The Bellis came from Pieces of the Ocean, and the Gold Flake came from a local fish store that I actually had stopped using several years ago. And many of you know the Gold Flake Angel is one of my holy grail fish. I always wanted one, and I found one. It was the appropriate size, and it was there, and the guy was able to cut us a deal, and we paid $300 for this fish. My son went back to pick it up for me after he saw it. He got the fish home, we got it acclimated, and we got it into the tank. Now, the acclimation time was a lot longer than I would have liked, or that I typically do, because as my son was leaving the store and the fish was in the bag, the salesperson, or the shop owner rather, said to him, "You're going to have to acclimate this fish rather long. We keep all our fish in hypotonic water." That should have been warning number one. After we got the fish in the tank and we really started to look at him, we noticed that on his left side there was a scale just below the lateral line that didn't look so good. By the next day we noticed it to be a parasite, and we immediately treated the tank with Prazi-Pro because it looked like a fluke. Over the 5 days of treatment with Prazi-Pro with the rest of the fish in my isolation tank, everybody looked good. The fish was eating, the fish looked great. Then, no sooner did we put carbon in to get rid of the Prazi-Pro, when we noticed that the Powder Blue had a couple of white spots on it. Next thing we know, we have full-blown ick in the entire tank. The Gold Flake had it, the Powder Blue had it, the Bellis Angel had it, and I almost forgot, I had a little tiny Potter's Angel in the tank as well that I had gotten from Live Aquaria. So these 4 fish that were set to go in this tank all had ick, and probably one of the worst cases I've ever seen. Now, despite the fact that this was my isolation quarantine tank, there has never been a fish in it with ick. And my thought process is that it was probably brought in by the gold flake because the other fish had been in the tank for 3 weeks and showed no signs of infection, nor had they been treated with copper or PraziPro or anything. So immediately we dosed copper on the first day that we noticed the ick. We dosed copper the second day. We checked copper levels and they're therapeutic. We raised the tank water temperature to about 81 degrees because that helps to speed up the lifestyle of the parasite. And everybody's looking good for a couple of days, you know, probably 3 to 4 days. Then the gold flake stops eating, dies within a day or two. Powder blue follows the day after that. Potter's Angel another day or two after that, until the only fish left in the tank alive is my Bellis Angel. So for those of you who don't believe in quarantining fish, learn from my lesson, because the only reason why I didn't get into my display tank is because, you know, I don't know why all of a sudden I decided I needed to quarantine these fish while I waited to get the chevron and the purple out of this tank. So it was kind of serendipitous to have done that. That being said, that was about a $600+ loss in fish, because we didn't heed our own rules of buying fish from a select group of sellers. We went to a local fish store that we hadn't used in years, and it was, you know, it just was what it was. When the gold flake died, we looked at the area that we had seen the parasite, and the parasite was back. And I used a very small scalpel, and we opened up the area, and there, lo and behold, was you know, a worm. So, moral to the story: if a fish store is saying that they're treating their fish in hypotonic water, and by the way, when we checked the bag when the fish came in, the water salinity was 1.014 or 5, so substantially less than the tank it was going in. So again, I kind of speculate what must have happened is the fish may have had a parasite. The parasites were being held at bay by the hypotonic saline water that the fish was in, and once it went into a tank with a normal salinity of 1.025, 1.026, that the parasites just took over. So you know, again, please be careful, especially when you're dealing with, you know, high dollar and multiple high dollar fish. So that being said, the Bellis is in the basement. It looks awesome. There is a small yellow tang that may go into my frag system for algae, you know, control. We have a purple tang in here, and we have an adult chevron tang that I have the purple tang adopted as soon as he leaves the tank, and I'm going to be putting the adult chevron up for sale. There is another fish that Kenny at Pieces of the Ocean has that I may or may not purchase today. It is another one of my holy grail fish. It is a Moorish idol. I have mixed feelings about purchasing the fish because of my clam. I love that clam. It's one of the last farm clams from Cocos Keeling, and you guys could read about that story online. And the question is, will he eat my clam or will he not eat my clam? So I'm not sure what to do. Quick overview of the tank, because I want to keep this to under 10 minutes. Here's a bunch of corals I got from Reef Nation. We have a Pink Floyd, a Walt Disney, and a couple of other ones right there. Several of the other corals I got from them are on the rocks. My Jason Fox Flame is Foxfire, Fox whatever, is doing pretty well. It's got another couple of heads coming out. My Strawberry Shortcake Acro looks great. At Fragtoberfest, We picked up a couple of red Gonioporas. The one on the left is actually orange with yellow eyes to add to my Goniopora Avilopora collection over there. And I picked up a couple of colonies. Here's a colony from Tonga. Here's a Acropora microclados from Australia. And there's an Acropora Florida from Tonga. Now, I don't typically buy colonies. These colonies are just kind of residing in my tank for a little while, or maybe a long while. They're actually set to be chopped into frags for an experiment that my son is doing in coral bleaching at the Aquaculture High School in Bridgeport. So these may or may not stay. I kind of love this one, the tabling acro, the microclados, because it really comes out as a shelf, and I don't think the camera shows it all that well, but it is a minty green with sort of purplish white tips. It looks great. The Acropora Florida, I'm going to see if I can zoom in. I mean, those are the fuzziest polyps I've ever seen on an acro. And then this guy over here, when the LED strip is on, is just glowing purple. So I don't know. I don't know if my son's gonna get them or not. But anyway, alright. You guys take it easy. That's a little of my update. Hopefully you learn a little bit of my life lesson about quarantining and never breaking a quarantine unless there's an absolute valid reason for it. And hopefully there'll be more updates in the near future. Alright guys, take care.